So, hi everyone, I hope you and all your loved ones are really well. My name's Abby and I'm the chair of the Greenhead College Student Association. I'm so glad you could make it today and thank you for sending in all your excellent questions. We're going to get through as many as we possibly can. First, I'm going to hand you over to Simon, who's our principal, just so he can introduce himself a little bit, and then I'm going to come back and run through what else is going to happen during the webinar.
Hello everyone, my name's Simon Lett. I'm principal of Greenhead College. Thank you for joining today. It's great to have this level of interest in the college and it'd be great to answer all your questions.
Thank you, Simon. So before we begin, I just want to let you know that if you have any other questions during the webinar or in fact afterwards, then you are completely free to message us on our Instagram account, Greenhead Student Offices. We have a couple of other officers manning it now, so if you have a question during the webinar, they'll get back to you as soon as possible. So first, we're just going to go around and introduce everyone else a little bit more, just so if there are any specific questions you want to be able to ask us about a subject or enrichment that we take, you can do. As I've already said, my name's Abby. My role as chair is just to organise things like this, make sure everyone's comfortable in their roles, and I also chair the Student Association's half-termly meetings. I take politics, economics and maths, and for enrichment I've done drama and debate. In terms of my plans for the future, I'm looking at going into an apprenticeship route around economics. So yeah, Madeline, you want to go next?
Yeah, hi everyone, I'm Madeline. I do history, English, literature, Spanish and politics at Greenhead, and I'm looking to go to university and study English. Yeah.
Yo, I'm Kirill. I'm the Greenhead Student Office's one of the secretaries. I study computer science, business, and maths, as well as further maths. That's 4 subjects. I plan to apply to university, shooting high. I'm planning to go to Cambridge for a computer science degree. And so, if there's anything you want to ask me about that, open for questions.
Hi everyone, my name's Zainab and I'm one of the charity officers at Greenhead. So that means I'm involved with all the aspects of college about supporting charities, whether that's donations we like to give, all the way to organising our annual charity day, which is definitely a highlight of the year, where we dress up and we have a lot of fun raising money for our chosen charity. I take A-levels in biology, chemistry and maths, and I'm also completing an EPQ, which is an independent research project. And in the future, I'm hoping to study medicine at university.
Hi everyone, I'm Claudia. I'm one of the Equality and Diversity officers. For my A-levels, I take French, English language, history and law. This year I've taken part in the Gold Duke of Edinburgh Award, Run Jog Walk Club and German for Beginners enrichments. In the future, I want to study international relations and a language at university. I'm also looking at study abroad options.
Thank you for that, everyone. So our first question is actually going to go to Simon, and it's about the application process for different schools, just because it was a really common question that you guys asked.
Yes, the application process, if you attend a Kirklees school, then it's likely to be an application platform called Get Into. But essentially, if you're applying through your school, it's very simple because your school will do it and you'll get all the advice and guidance you need from either your careers leader or your head of year 11. So it's a really simple, straightforward process, nothing complex. And as I said, the schools will likely take the lead, particularly if you're in a Kirklees school.
Right, so this next question comes from Camille from Royds Hall, and she's asking what courses are available. So our full list of courses is available under the Apply Now tab on our college website, and there's also a summary of all these courses available on our student office's Instagram account.
Okay, so the next question is from Amara from Moorend, and she said, what are the most popular courses? So the most popular courses at Greenhead are maths, history and biology. But it's not really important how popular it is, to be honest. You should just choose what you want to do because, yeah, it doesn't really affect anything.
So for the next question, we're all going to go around and just give the answer that we would all give individually. It's from Heather at Cone Valley, and she's asked, why did you pick to go to Greenhead? So to start off, I picked to go to Greenhead because my high school didn't have a sixth form, so it was kind of, there was only a few limited options. And Greenhead, it felt right. Obviously, you guys might not get to do kind of the open days and stuff, but when I went up for mine, it just kind of felt like where I wanted to be. It had the subjects that I wanted to do, and everything about it just seemed like it was the obvious choice for me.
Yeah, for me, I didn't want to stay at my high school sixth form. I wanted to go somewhere new. And like Abby, I just really liked the feeling of Greenhead and also the enrichments, because there's so many enrichments. Yeah.
Yeah, I personally like, for me, it was between like New College and Greenhead. And, you know, because like I wasn't too sure about my plans, but I knew that I was gonna like, I really wanted to, you know, shoot high, as you could say. So like from my research I've done, I found out that Greenhead's like one of the best places you could go to then apply to like a university. So, I mean, obviously like, in my opinion, personally, I think Greenhead's just like, makes it so much easier for you to just like, you know, go to a good prestigious university. That's just my reason.
I really liked the environment at Greenhead when I came on the open day, similar to Abby. And also like Madeline, even though my high school had a sixth form, I was keen for a bit of a change. And also I wanted to take mainly science A levels. So the fact that the biology and chemistry departments, they're one of the largest in the country. So they really do have a lot of resources that can help you study for your A levels. So that's something that really appealed to me.
So my high school had a feeder college, but I really wanted a fresh start. So Greenhead was a really good place for me to look at. And after speaking to the languages department on open days, I just felt it was the college that was going to give me the right sort of support, and the opportunities were really good too. So that's why I chose Greenhead.
So the next question is from Jacob at King James, and that is, what are the differences between college and high school? For me, I think there's kind of three main differences that I would kind of say for this question. So firstly, I think independence is a huge factor. High school is kind of very routine, and college is a lot more independent in the sense that you have to be really self-motivated. But on the other side of that, you can wear what you like. You know, you can leave college during your free periods. You kind of, like, I feel as if it's much more down to you than it was at high school. Secondly, the college environment is really different. So because obviously year groups are so big, you don't actually know that many people in your year group, if that makes sense. So you won't get to know everyone at college. You'll kind of have your classes and your groups of friends and the people you meet in enrichment. I feel like that's a little bit nicer almost, whereas compared to high school, where everyone seemed to know you and you seem to know everyone. And then the workload and the self-motivation that's involved behind that. I think that the workload is probably a lot more than you're used to experiencing, and also a lot more down to you to complete. Not even with just homeworks, but revising consistently throughout the year and completing additional tasks that aren't necessarily compulsory but are always going to help you. There's a lot of encouraging and motivating yourself to do those things. So I think that's definitely a massive difference. And then I find there's two really small ones that just baffled me when I started. So the first is calling teachers by their first names. Like, it took me such a long time to get used to because it just felt so unnatural. And then the second is the fact there's not any bells at college. So I know a couple of high schools do that, but mine didn't. And I was really used to kind of bells signifying when lessons ended and started, and there's not any at college, which is kind of weird, but you get used to it really quickly. But that's kind of, I think, comes with organisation and a level of time management. So they're kind of my main differences that I would say to answer that question. The next one's from Isabel at King James, and that's, do you prefer college or high school? And we're all going to go around and just kind of tell you our answer to that. So for me, I think it's a case of preferring college because I think the independence and the kind of allowing you to pick your own subjects and do the subjects that you really want to do is really nice. But I do miss the aspects of high school where I think college is definitely harder, like not in a bad way, but I think it's definitely harder than what high school was. I miss kind of being able to mess about if you had a supply teacher in lessons and stuff. So yeah, I prefer college but miss high school.
For me, I definitely prefer college, like 1000%. there's just so much more freedom to like express yourself and to choose what you want to do, like Abby said. So yeah, for me, college is just so much better.
Yeah, I also personally prefer college. Where in high school, you know, you have to do like all these subjects that maybe you don't want to do. In college, you can actually pursue like the different areas you know you plan for your career. Like you can do what you actually enjoy. And I also find that in college, like the sense of community is much better. Personally, I think. Because like you know you're treated like you know you talk to your teachers not like a miss or so, you know you call on like by the names, and you also you know you're treated like an adult basically, and it's like preparing you for later life I guess, but it's real nice. I really like it.
I definitely prefer college. I think it's really nice that you can take a lead on your studies at college and go into more depth into subjects that you really enjoy. And you've also got the independence to be able to manage and plan how you study yourself outside of lessons. So I think that's a really nice thing. I also really like having the ability to take part in all the enrichments that Greenhead College offers as part of college life. I think that's something that high schools don't really have, but Greenhead College especially, they have a lot of really lovely enrichments that you can do.
Yeah, I also prefer college much more than high school. There's this sort of freedom that you have with like expressing yourself and also take control of your own learning. And again, there's lots of enrichment, there's lots of opportunities that school provides you with, and I think that's really beneficial too.
So the next question is from Oliver at Home First, and I'm going to just put this one to Simon. It's, what are the entry requirements?
Okay, thanks for the question, Oliver. The general entry requirements are grade 4 at GCSE in English language and mathematics, plus 3 grade 6s. Those are the general entry requirements, and it's fair to say that there are a number of subjects that you can do at Greenhead simply with those general entry requirements. There are also some subject-specific ones as well. I won't list those now because it would take me too long. So my advice would be to have a look at the website, and that will give you the information for what the subject-specific entry requirements are for some of our A-levels. So for example, if you wanted to do biology, we ask for a certain standard in your GCSE science and in your maths. The same applies for chemistry and for a number of other subjects as well. But the general entry requirements that you need to be aiming for are 4s in your English language and maths and 3 6s. And those 3 6s could be the subjects that you want to do at A level, the subject specific ones, or they could just be 6s from any of your GCSEs. So that's the two things to bear in mind, the general entry requirements and then looking on our website for the subject specific ones.
Okay, the next question is from Joshua, and they've asked, what advice would you give on picking your A-levels? So I think the most important thing to consider when you're picking your subjects is choose the ones that you will enjoy. I'd recommend having a look at the college website to find out more about what you do in the subjects and whether that would be for you. And if there's any particular courses that you want to take in the future, check the entry requirements that they may have, because you might need to take some specific subjects in order to do them. Remember to always choose subjects for the right reasons. I think not just because your friend's taking it or your parents want you to do it, because A-levels are a step up from GCSEs. They're more difficult. You're going to spend more time doing these subjects. So definitely have a good think about it. But having said that, don't be overwhelmed with making the decision. Don't think like too much about it, because the chances are you'll be happy and you'll do great. It's something you enjoy.
Right, so the next question is relates to what Simon said. It's from Asma from Batley Girls School. Those subjects have specific requirements. So as Simon said, yeah, some subjects do have specific grades you need to achieve in school. You can have a look on the website, you know, in subject areas. Yeah, it's just what Simon said. I mean, you know, so you have to get the grades required to go into Greenhead, as well as the grades for some subjects, because not all of them require specific grades.
Yeah, just to add to that, we've added to our Instagram account today a list of all the courses that we offer and kind of like a summarised little paragraph about them, and then what you need to get to be able to do those subjects, if there are any entry requirements. So if you've got a phone available now and you want to have a quick look, then you can have a look at that. The next question is for Simon again, and that's what happens if I don't get the grade requirements for a certain subject?
Okay, well, when you apply to Greenhead, what we will do is we will interview you, and that interview would take place at some point in the winter period, around about January, February, March 2021. It may be that we go to your school for that, or it may be that we invite you into college for your interview. We'll explore with you what you want to do, what the entry requirements are, and likely achievement at school. And then we'll be in a position to decide whether we can make you an offer. If you don't meet the entry requirement for a particular subject, then I wouldn't worry too much, because what will happen is when you have got your GCSE results, there will be a time and a date for you to come and enroll at Greenhead College. And in a sense, we re-interview you at that point once we actually know what your GCSE achievement is. And we actually look at what you've actually got in your GCSEs, match those up in terms of what you want to study at A level and what your future plans are. And if you haven't quite met the entry requirements, we'll talk to you about, well, maybe have you considered this particular A level instead, for example. And all through that, we'll have your future plans in mind. So it's a very supportive process. So don't feel that if you haven't met an entry requirement, it's the end of the world, because we're here to support you to get you on the right study program for your success.
So this next question is from Sarah at Batley Girls, and she's asking how many subjects can you take? So you can take either 3 or 4 subjects, but bear in mind that core maths and further maths, they're both taken as a 4th one. I take 4 subjects, and at meetings with my personal tutor throughout the year, I've just been discussing how I'm coping with the workload. And so there is that support available if you do feel overwhelmed with 4 subjects.
The next question is from Mariam, and she said, what does the college day / the timetable look like? So there is an example college timetable on the website under student life, and also the college day that you can look at if you want like a detailed thing of it. But basically there's 4.5 hours per subject per week in lessons. And also Monday to Thursday, there's 5 lessons a day. And then on Friday, there's 6 lessons a day to make sure you see all of your subject teachers before the weekend. And there's 1 tutorial period per week, and Wednesday afternoons are off for enrichment.
Right, so
I suppose if I just add to that, I suppose that timetable is one of the big differences. Goes back to Abby's point about one of the big differences between school and college, because at school you have a structured day, I guess, from 9 to 3:30 perhaps. It doesn't quite work like that at college. So for example, your first lesson on a Monday might not be until period 2, which is near to 10 o'clock. You might finish earlier in the day on a Thursday perhaps. When you get that timetable, I know that that sounds really appealing, to get a timetable where perhaps you can have a lie-in at the beginning of the day. It doesn't quite work like that, because what we encourage students to do is not to see the periods where they're not in lessons as free time. It's study periods, and many students do actually come on site and stay on site even when they're not in lesson, and they go to the library or the study area to do homework and independent study.
Question from Sukas from Heckman Dwight Grammar. Can I have a part-time job? Yes, you can. I personally do not have one, but I know many of my friends do. It's been recommended that you do not work more than 20 hours per week, so it's not detrimental to your learning. But yeah, if you feel like you can fit the part-time job together with your learning and do well, then, it's quite worth it to have one.
Next question's from Anna from Home Firth, and they've asked, is there any coursework? Okay, so some subjects do have coursework, for example, English and history, but the majority of A-levels are assessed by exams only, so they're all linear courses, and you take your exams at the end of 2 years, so you wouldn't have any courseworks for those.
So the next question is from Hannah at King James, and she's asked, what are the teachers like? I think the relationship you have with your teachers at college is quite different to the one you had with your teachers at high school. First of all, I think it's more informal, I guess, especially given the fact that, you know, you're calling them by their first name. I think you're treated like more of an adult than you are at high school by the teachers. And I think that they're really there to help you as much as they possibly can. All they want to do is see you do well. I've never come across like a mean teacher. I've never heard about a mean teacher or like a certain teacher that has a certain reputation. I think all the teachers are really lovely. And obviously I think they appreciate that A-levels are really hard. A lot of teachers I've kind of spoken to have said that A-levels were the hardest couple of years in terms of education they've been through. And I think teachers really try and make it as easy as it can be for everyone. They're always kind of usually up for a laugh in a lesson. That's not saying that we don't work really hard, but they always try and find ways to make lessons that much more engaging and that much more enjoyable for everyone. And I think it is really different, the teachers between high school and college, but they're just really nice. I'm not sure there's anything else you can say. I'm not sure I've got a bad word to say about any of my teachers really. So another question from Sam at King James. He said, what do you enjoy the most about Greenhead? So again, we're all going to say our favourite thing. My favourite thing has to be the environment. I think everyone is so free to express themselves and it's such an inclusive place. It's really where everyone seems to be welcomed, everyone fits in, everyone has kind of somewhere that they belong in college. And there's such an emphasis within college on kind of valuing individuals. And I think that's a really big part of college life, actually. You know, I don't know anyone who kind of doesn't enjoy that aspect of college. I think that when I come to college every day, everyone seems super free to express themselves and is really who they are. I think at high school, you kind of tone yourself down a little bit just to kind of fit in with everyone else. But at college, it really is a place of self-expression. And I really enjoy that.
My favourite thing is actually really similar to what Abby said. The support for students, I think, is really good. I think Greenhead sort of has a reputation, or at least this is what I heard before I came, that it's kind of pressurising or something to its students, and I really don't think that that's true. There's so much support for students and it is just really, as Abby said, really inclusive and there's a real community feeling.
Yeah, actually, I also personally like the different like communities and different like you know like Abby said, there's so much emphasis on like individuals in college, because like for example, the Greenhead Student Association, like what we are, we try to like, I guess you could say we're the voices of students in college, right? So if there's anything like you wish changed, for example, maybe your toilet is broken, you wish to get that out and fixed. Maybe you can say that to like one of us, and then we can get that fixed. So like the voices of students are heard. I'd say I like that, but also the different small communities are like much closer. Like for example, my computer science community, like my class, computer science class, like it's so great. Like we know everybody in there. Like both the classes, both computer science classes know each other. Our teacher Sharon, like she's so nice. And I don't know if I feel like that's for every subject, but again, for example, in my case, computer science, like just we're all part of the small nice community.
I think one thing that I really enjoy about Greenhead is all the opportunities. I think they have so many enrichments, for example, where you can have the chance to explore something new or continue pursuing a hobby you already have. And also the college are always organising talks and workshops where you can find out more about a particular career or a course that you're interested in. So you do really feel well informed and have more confidence about making decisions about future plans. So I think all of those opportunities, they're really good.
I think my favourite part of Greenhead is the support from the teachers that you get in all aspects, like in the educational side of things and also in the mental side of things. So if you're struggling, if there's things going on at home, you've always got someone to turn to. There's always so much support from all your teachers, from your personal tutor, and there's also specific teams in college that work to help people as well. So the support is really good.
The next question is from Sophie from Heckman Dwight Grammar. and she asked what extracurriculars are available. I think we sort of talked about this. There's a full list on the website that you can check, but there really is such a wide range. This was like a big reason I chose Greenhead, because I think there's something like 120 plus clubs that you could join. I mean, there's like knitting club, cooking for beginners, all like so much stuff, philosophy, anything that you want to sort of pursue as like a hobby or something that you're more serious with, there's something there for everyone. So yeah.
The next question is from Joe from Shelley College, and they're asking, how can I make a good impression during my interview? So when I went to my interview, I was rather worried, but quickly I realised how friendly and supportive the teachers were, and it went really smoothly. Simon, could you maybe talk about what you look for in a good candidate?
Yeah, I think the important thing is not to get too worried about it. Whilst it's an interview, it's not a test. So it's relatively informal. What we look for really is we want to know, why have you chosen these particular subjects? And don't worry too much if you haven't got a firm career path. I mean, we see hundreds of students that have a very clear idea. I want to be a dentist, I want to be a doctor, I want to work in engineering, which is absolutely fine. We meet lots of students who aren't yet decided what they want to do for their future career, and they want to use the A-levels to help them decide. And that's absolutely fine. So don't worry if you haven't got a clear career aspiration at this stage. But essentially, we want to know, why have you chosen these 3 or 4 subjects? How are you getting on at school? Do you have any future plans beyond A-level? What do you know about Greenhead College? And what sort of things do you do either of an extracurricular nature in school or in your spare time? I think my biggest advice that I could give you is just be yourself. And it's a relatively pain-free process. And that's essentially what we're looking for.
The next question is from Hakeem from King James, and they've asked, how did your routine change between high school and college? So personally, I think a big change for me was having frees. I think when you get your timetable at the start of year 12 and you see all these blanks and you realize you have all these non-contact hours for independent study, which you've never had previously in high school. So it can seem a bit strange at first, but you're giving plenty of guidance on how to use your frees, and you get better at organizing your time. And after a while, you quite enjoy having the independence to plan what you do in them. A second one for me was using the trains. I never used public transport to go to high school, so this altered my routine a bit, and I was a bit like daunted at first at taking the train. But the vast majority of Greenhead students use public transport, so you won't be alone. And also the college day is slightly longer, so we start at 8:45 and we finish around 4, but we do have 2 breaks. So we've got a shorter one at the start of the day and also a longer lunch break. And you also have frees that I mentioned as well, so it doesn't feel like a really long, intense day. It's quite manageable.
So the next question is from Ifra Rhodes Hall, and that's about an Oxbridge Support scheme. So at college, we do have our Oxbridge Support scheme. It'll start around Easter time in your first year. Anyone can kind of participate from the beginning, and you'll basically throughout when it starts until around, I think, winter time when interviews will be, you'll be coached on how to kind of write your personal statement, and if you get through to interviews, you'll have practice interviews, you'll get prepared for your interviews, we should be going on a trip to visit each of the universities, but obviously that's cancelled currently due to the situation we're in. But it's basically just a complete guide with kind of tutors and even past students who've gone on to Oxbridge who'll come back and kind of guide you through it. I don't know if you've got anything to add to that, Simon.
I think you said most of it, Abby. What I would say is that the Oxbridge support that we offer to students is second to none. We've built up a real impressive array of links with Oxbridge colleges, and we're able to support students thoroughly. We start the ball rolling. So as Abby said, you can expect to do some preparatory work in your first year. In fact, we even put on discussion groups about Oxbridge in our open events in the autumn. So we get the ball started with that really quickly. It's, as Abby said, it's open access. So don't think that we're only interested in students who've got a suite of grade 9s in their GCSEs. It doesn't work like that. If you've got that aspiration to get to Oxbridge, we'll support you every step of the way. But there's a huge amount of support in terms of preparing you for the application process, the interview process. So there's mock interviews that we hold here in college. So a real plethora of activities, I would say, to support you in that process.
So there's also been quite a similar question from Isabel at Kettlethorpe High, and that's, what can I be doing now in preparation to apply to Oxbridge? So I think obviously the best thing you can do is be working really hard towards some great GCSE results. That's obviously going to be something that's going to help you through everything. And then maybe look into volunteering or maybe doing D&V, stuff like that. But I think I really want to stress there was a lot of questions about Oxbridge. And as much as it's really great to have an aim to go there and that's what you're aspiring to, I think make sure that it's not the be all and end all, because like I was in the same situation throughout from year 9. I was adamant that I wanted to apply to Oxbridge, and then recently, as I've been looking more into universities, I realised that actually it's not just the uni that's important, it's the course, and if the course is the right one for you. And after looking into kind of my subject courses at Oxbridge, they're not what I really want to be doing. And so I've actually decided that I don't want to apply there anymore, and I'm okay with that decision because I was never super set on it. So I think as much as definitely plan, do what you can, get the best results you can in order to it, that's where you want to go. I think have a really open mind and have a path that you can divert from and move away from, because I think that it's very likely that throughout college you'll kind of change your mind on what you thought you wanted to do and where you thought you wanted to go. So as much as it's great to be planning to do that, make sure that it's not the only goal, and make sure that you apply to Oxbridge for the right reasons and not just because it's Oxbridge. So the next question is from Adrian at Dixon's Trinity Academy, and that's, what is one tip you would give to people starting college? And again, we're all going to go around and give you a piece of advice. So for me, I think it links to my previous point about going to college with an open mind and a good attitude. I think if you've got those two things, you'll succeed, because college is just all about working hard and just always doing your best, but you know, making sure that you're listening to yourself. And if you want to use a free to spend time with your friends and not to study, then do that. Just make sure, piece of advice, I think, just make sure that that you're doing the best you can, and that you have just a really good attitude towards work and a really healthy attitude towards work as well. That's really important. So make sure you're not burning yourself out, but also make sure you're not doing the bare minimum, because whatever you do will help you. So I think that's kind of my advice.
I would say talk to people that you don't know, that aren't from your school, because if you're coming from a school like mine where everyone comes from the same town, and then you're going to Greenhead where everybody's from so many different schools, you're going to meet so many new people, and I think it's really important to, like Abby said, have an open mind, and don't try and limit yourself to the people that you already know, because you might make some great new friends.
Yeah, I'd say getting the right mindset, like transferring from school to college, you know, you have to get some work done, you know, like Abby said, like don't burn yourself out, because like, for example, in my case, in computer science case, we were trying to get all the work done like in the first half of the year. And when our teacher, Sharon, found out that we were trying to do that, we had a little talk, and she was like, hey, you have 2 whole years. You have 2 whole years to get the work done. But at the same time, you have to work. So like as long as you get in the mindset that you know, you don't have to absolutely overwork yourself, but you have to work like, you know, on like regular basis, then I think you'll be fine.
I think one tip that I would give is don't be afraid to clarify anything with your teachers. I think at Greenhead, we have a really nice sort of system where you can go up to teachers outside of lesson hours and just go up and ask them questions, and they're always willing to give one-to-one support to you. So don't be afraid and don't hesitate to like go to them, because they really do help. And I found that if I don't understand something and I do go up to them, I have a much better understanding of the topic afterwards, and it really helps.
I think for me, I'd like to say that it's really important to get involved with as much things as you can. Obviously, don't overload yourself, because focusing your A-levels is also really important. But if there's like a talk or a workshop that your personal tutor has told you about, it'll be a good idea to check it out. If there's any opportunities in the specific department, have a look at that. And if you get an email from a college-wide email saying this is what's happening, get involved, because it gives you lots of opportunities. You can write that in your personal statement for unit, and also they often end up being really good fun.
Okay, so the next question is from Kayla from Moor End, and she said, what is the dress code? So Greenhead doesn't really have any kind of dress code. There's nothing that's like banned. There's no real rules. It's kind of left up to you to decide what's appropriate and what you feel comfortable in, which is something that I really like about Greenhead. Yeah, that's about it.
All right. Fatima from Manacroft asks, is it hard to fit in? Well, personally, when I started college, I found out it's really easy to fit in. Because like, I don't know why, but there were so many people from my high school and college. And, you know, so like, I didn't have to go and socialize with other people, but like I did. I think if you go and do stuff like NCS, it really helps as well. Because what I noticed is there's so many people like I wouldn't know otherwise, but I knew them because I did NCS together with them. And it's a great program also, by the way, just, you know, you have to do it. But yeah, it's really easy to fit in because everyone's really friendly. You know, everybody's in the same shoes, right? Because nobody knows each other. Well, basically, nobody knows each other. So you can just like come up to a guy and be like, hey, you want to be friends? Yeah, sure. You know, why not? And then maybe ask him, what's your subjects? Tell him what's your subjects, you know? And who knows, maybe you're on the same class. Like, hey. But yeah, also, we with GCSA are going to be running some sort of freshers event where you can meet other people. I know the also officers did it as well, so we plan to do something in that sense. But yeah.
So this next question is, how does the college support students who struggle with mental health? Now, college is really well equipped, and there's so many people to go to if you do need that sort of support. There's your tutors, there's learning support, subject support, and counsellors, and there's a safeguarding team. And Simon, if you could go into more details about that.
Yeah, I mean, we place a big emphasis on mental health, physical health, and well-being at Greenhead College. I think it stems fundamentally through the teachers and the tutors, because we've got your best interests at heart. We want to see you succeed and do well. So we've got a keen interest in your well-being and wanting to do well in college. The pastoral system that we have at Greenhead is unique to the college. We have 28 personal tutors. These are very well qualified members of staff, and they're all teaching staff, teaching qualified, and they will have a number of tutor groups each. And that means that they will develop a bespoke one-to-one working relationship with each of their tutees. And the tutor has a holistic overview of each student's performance in their 3 or 4 A levels. So a lot of the pastoral support and general well-being you will get will be from your personal tutor. Also within the tutorial program, we raise awareness of mental health themes in tutor lessons. There's an additional learning support department. There's a study centre where you can go to get support if you need further help. And as Claudia said, we have a team of counsellors, we have a team of safeguarding staff as well. One of the things that we're going to be introducing next year is some distinct MAP weeks, which stands for mental and physical health, MAP weeks throughout the college year. And these are going to be occasions where we're going to flag up more explicitly with students in the curriculum and in the tutorial programme issues and awareness raising about mental health. So it's something that we do take really seriously. It's a very good question. I don't think you can ever do enough, but it's something that's a very important part of our work at Greenhead.
Yeah, definitely. I'd echo what's been said. Mental health is super important to everyone. Everyone just wants to see you succeed, and there's nothing more to it than that. So I think the most important thing to remember is the minute you ask for help, you'll get it. And so there's no point sitting there and suffering by yourself. You know, it could be like a long-term mental health issue, or even just a short one. If you're feeling a bit of stress, if exams are coming up, just tell someone is the biggest piece of advice I could possibly give you, because the help is there, it's in place, and it's ready for you the second that you ask for it. Yeah. So the next question is, how do you manage to stay efficient and on top of things? And I think this is definitely one we all have to give a piece of advice on, because there's so many different ways of doing it and everyone has to work out to kind of find their own way. I think the first term of college is definitely when you work out what is best for you. So for me, I actually use a weekly planner, and it has kind of like all the hours of the week on it. So I'll use that to write down all my like commitments of that week, and then work out around that where I can do work. If like I'll even plan in kind of like free time to make sure that I'm not doing too much, and that I've got the time to kind of relax and just watch YouTube or something, just to make sure that you're not always working but also you're staying on top of things. And I also think that it's really important to make sure your work is really organised, whether that be like through folders or kind of desk tidies and stuff, because I remember once about halfway through the year, you'll get loads of like past paper questions and packs, and my desk just got like stacked full of different piles of things, and it made me feel really stressed because I could see it. So I think if you have a really good routine of being able to kind of tidy everything away, it almost makes you feel more organised on like a kind of psychological level. So I just think keep yourself organised and on top of things, and I think for me, planning it out, like planning my weeks out, is a really useful way of doing that.
For me, and this has become especially useful in lockdown, I do to-do lists every day and like take it off. And also a big tip that I would say is keep a planner and write everything down, because I found myself at the start of the year, like at the end of a lesson, a teacher would set homework and I would think, oh, I'll remember that. And you don't remember it unless you write it down and write down the deadline and everything. So yeah, just write everything down and make sure you sort of have it in your brain when things are due and stuff like that.
For me, I basically just like, you know, if there's some sort of homework or some sort of event I need to attend, I just write it down in my planner on my phone, because, you know, it's your phone, you're always on your phone. Just put it there and you're going to see it sometime, you know, hopefully before the thing that happens, you know, so you're not late. But yeah, I personally just like, I sit down, put on some music and just do all the work that's set to me, just like all in one day, maybe dedicate one day to just like doing work. And because once you do all that work, like the next day or the next 2 days, you can use them to like relax, you know, do your thing. You know, I don't know, maybe do some other activities like enrichments, who knows. But yeah.
I think an important thing is just take it day by day and try not to get overwhelmed about thinking too much, like too far ahead. And another thing is use your freeze. I think if you complete a lot of your work in college, it's a great way to keep on top of things, because you're just more efficient at college, I think, personally for me, and I think a lot of other people agree as well, because you have all the resources and you've got access to your teachers. So it makes studying more efficient, and you're also around other people who are studying as well, so you don't feel as easily distracted.
I think what's also a good idea is let's say you've had a history lesson that day. So after your lessons, whether that's at home or whether that's during a study period, is look back over your notes, look back at what you've learned throughout that day to really entrench that knowledge, and then a few weeks later, let's say, you come back to it, so you keep the information refreshed in your mind, so when it does come to exams, you're not like overwhelmed by all the amount of things you've got to know by then because it's already learned.
Actually, just to add to that point, I found that immediately after lessons, making my revision resources from that lesson is really useful, because then it's out of the way. Because as much as I wish it did, making revision resources doesn't count as revision. So when it comes to exams, if you've already got all those resources that you've already made, then it's a lot quicker to be able to just start revising.
Sorry. The next question is from Ruben from Shelley College, and they've asked, what are the facilities like? Okay, so Greenhead's facilities are really great, and there's a really extensive range of facilities as well at Greenhead. For example, there's a library, the study centre, or subject-specific help rooms if you want a focused area to study. And there's even the main hall if you'd like to relax and socialise a bit more. We also have a sports hall, pitches, science lab, there's a canteen, and there's a lot more facilities that are specific to subjects, which are all really good, and they're all on the website as well, so you can find out more about them there.
The next question is from Imogen from Saddleworth, and she asked, what is the average class size? It's about 20, the average class size, but it can be as small as 14 or as big as 24. Most of mine are between 14 and 20. It can depend on how popular your course is, but again, it doesn't really affect anything. The level of teaching is pretty much the same.
So the next question is from Isabella at Horizon Community College, and that's, is there transport available? So Greenhead doesn't necessarily have its own transport coming from anywhere, but a lot of students do kind of rely on public transport, and there's a lot of understanding with teachers, because obviously public transport can sometimes be kind of delayed or late, and if you're going to be a couple of minutes late, don't stress about it. Like, teachers will be really understanding of that. If it's a very regular occurrence, then you need to be starting to get even early train or an early bus, but especially for trains that are like once every hour, obviously that's really difficult to do, and teachers really do kind of understand people having to take a public transport. So that's actually all the questions that we got from when you guys signed up. We've had quite a few coming on the Instagram account, so I'm just going to take a few of these on, and then if anyone else wants to contribute to any of the questions, they're welcome to step in. So what was your interview like? That was such a long time ago. My interview, I remember it was with Mo, the deputy principal, and she kind of asked me, I was really nervous for it, and then literally I sat in the chair and it was fine. It was much more like a conversation than like a grilling interview. It wasn't really her asking me loads of questions, it was more us just having a little bit of a chat about what I wanted to do and why. And then I told her I wanted to do politics, and we just kind of had a bit of a chat about politics and why I was interested in that. And I think just try not to stress about it. I mean, they are kind of writing things down on a piece of paper, but it's only your name and what subjects you want to do and stuff like that. So I think it's super easy to be nervous, and I completely get that, but just make sure that you just go into it being yourself. And it is, I can't stress enough how much it is so much more like a conversation than an interview. I think calling it an interview is just not really doing it justice. Is there a prayer room? Yes, we do have prayer facilities in college. I think there's a classroom in M block where there are prayer facilities. And then we've got what happens if you're struggling in a subject. So different departments have different support systems in place. I know that for a lot of mine, they have mentoring systems, so you can be paired up with like a year 13 and they will kind of mentor you through certain subjects and help you out that way. Some teachers also run support sessions at certain points in the week. Some subjects have support rooms where you can go and study, and there's sometimes a teacher available in there. And if it's general learning or study support, there are both study support and learning support people who can help you with revision timetables or just getting your studies in order. I think, but again, it's if you're struggling with one thing, you have to ask at the moment you're struggling, because if you leave it and get too scared to ask, it will build on top of you, especially in things like maths, because if you struggle with one thing, it's very likely that that will influence the next thing that you're studying, and so it will really start to build up. So I think, again, it's the second you need help, ask for it, because it's there. And you know, all anyone wants is for you to do the absolute best you can do. And so I think that's what makes it the easiest. I think, oh, we've had quite a few more. When does the application need to be in by? So again, you'll be led through all of this by your schools. So interviews are in winter time, so it'll probably be a couple of weeks after you've gone back, around October, November. But again, like, your schools will kind of coach you through that.
The final deadline is in early February, Abby, and our interviews start. We start bringing the first groups into college in January time, and that goes on through to March. But there's nothing to stop you getting your application in early in the autumn term, but the closing date is early February.
Perfect, thank you. So are there any benefits to taking 4 A-levels compared to 3 A-levels? I think 4 A-levels is more work, it's more lessons a week, less frees a week. Obviously, so we have 4.5 hours of lesson time per week, and then you're expected to do 4 hours additional work per subject. So obviously, if you're doing 3 A-levels, that's 12 hours extra, and if you're doing 4, that's 16. So I think if you feel like you can cope with 4 and manage with 4, absolutely do it. But I really want to stress that no one will ever expect you to have 4. Universities don't ask for 4, not even Oxbridge will ask for 4. So I think you've got to decide whether, for me, I decided that I'd rather do really well in 3 than do okay in 4 and not spread myself across different subjects too much. But again, if you're doing further maths or core maths, which is an AS level, that has to be a 4th option. So bear that in mind, but you can start with 4 as well and drop 1 if it got too much. But just kind of think about what sort of college experience you want to have. So there's, I guess,
think
benefits.
Just on that, Abby, I would also say that we'll talk to you on an individual basis about whether 4 subjects is right for you and how that mix of 4 fits with your overall plans. I think sometimes, particularly at interview, we have students who've put 4 subjects down and want to do 4 subjects because they can't decide between the 3rd and the 4th subject, which isn't quite the right reason really, or the best way to do 4 subjects. So but essentially we'll talk to you on an individual basis about that.
Yeah, definitely. What does enrichment mean? Enrichment is extracurricular activities. So we've been through that. There's loads, they're all on the website. There's anything you can possibly imagine. I mean, think of it and we probably have it. From sports to drama to creative colouring to creative writing, public current affairs, absolutely anything you can imagine. And you can join a couple, you've got to join 1, and they do change, some half termly and some termly, but you can kind of join as many as you want. So in college, is the marking system the same for exams, grading 1 to 9? No, college is still letters, so A star to U, and a U is a fail. And then anything higher than that is a pass, I think. I'm not sure if there's anything else to say about that one.
Yeah.
What are the music courses and the music facilities like? So I think we have 3 music courses. I think there's music, BTEC music performance, A-level music, and then music technology. And I don't believe there's any specific grade requirements for any of those 3 courses, but I do think for music technology you need to have some background of kind of like music software, And then it's really helpful if you can play an instrument or sing, or have some, because obviously music performance, you're going to need to be able to perform something. I think that's the music courses. I don't do music, so I'm not sure what the facilities are like, but I've heard they're really good. People really enjoy taking music.
Just to have a look on the website, just for the entry requirements, and just to add to Abby's point, there's lots of ensembles that you can join. So there's a wind ensemble, string ensemble, there's a college choir, there's lots of different things that you can get involved in. I think we're one of the very few colleges now that are still offering the A-level in music, so it's a very vibrant part of the college's work. There's lots going on in the local community in terms of people's musicianship and cultivating musical talent, so a very important part of the college's work.
We've had a question about the application process for students who don't go to a school in Kirklees. I'm pretty sure, Simon, you might have to correct me on this, but you apply via the website. So you'll like fill in a form and then come into college for an interview.
It depends really on the school. I would get some advice from the school for the person who's asked that question. It could be that your school is using Get Into, because that is a platform that's used by some non-partner schools as well. I would have a word with them because it may be that they can get some specific support in terms of how the application process will work. But essentially, as a way forward, I would just talk to your head of year 11 or careers leader on that one, because it can vary from school to school.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you for that. I think we're going to end the questions there. I'm just quite conscious of the time. But if you have any more questions you want to ask, then please feel free to message the Instagram account. We're happy to answer any questions to our best of our ability. As well as that, a couple of weeks ago, we did a similar webinar for Year 11 students. And if you wanted to take a look at that, there's a couple of different questions that were asked. Some of them were the same, but if you wanted to know a little bit more, you could watch that one, which is on the college website currently. So I really hope this has been useful and that you've enjoyed it. Thank you for attending and thank you for sending in the questions. If there's anything that you need or anything that you want to know from college, there's a college email address that you can email to get in touch with some teachers. And we're also looking at doing a virtual tour of the college that will include videos from students and teachers and kind of show you around a little bit through all the different departments and about what they all offer. So definitely kind of look out for that. If you follow the college on Twitter or on Instagram or follow us, we'll be posting updates about how you can view that and where you can get the information that you need. And again, just keep up to date on the website, use the information that's available on there to start looking at potential choices and thinking about whether you want to come to Greenhead. So that's all from me. Thank you very much for attending, and we appreciate any feedback that you might have on how we can kind of improve this going into next year.